Hey vinyl community, it's Phil from Destination Vinyl again. I'm going to have another short one here for you today. This is sort of, not in response, but it's just something, a subject that came up with Don at That Old Goat's Vinyl. If you haven't checked out his channel, check it out. It's really cool. He's a great old guy. Lots of really interesting videos, really variety of tastes he has. Really a cool channel, really a cool guy. He rocks. But in the last of his couple of videos he's done his pickups, he's picked up a couple of radio play albums by featuring the Shadow. And if you're younger, you probably won't have much history in this or understand it. But back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, before television, you can imagine, people's way of getting entertainment and news was the radio. We didn't have the boob tube back then. So after the news and sports and whatever, they would play radio plays, and that is people would stand around in front of microphones with all sorts of making sound effects in the back, and they would tell stories. And you could hear all sorts of things, The Shadow and movies soundtracks set to people acting them out on the radio, and it was really cool. And back in the 70s, when I was young, there was a local radio station, still is CKNW, and they had a fellow by the name of Jack Cullen, who from 10 o'clock till 1 in the morning would have his Owl Prowl nightly, every night of the week. And he'd come on, he pre-recorded the shows in his record store in a local shopping mall. In the back of it, he had a little studio, and they'd come on and play them from 10 to 1 o'clock. Sometimes he was live, but mostly it was recorded. And he would play old dance music, jazz music, whatever, for the first hour. But from 11 to 1, he would play what he called, it was Network Replay, he called the show. And he would play 4 or sometimes 2 old radio shows. Some of them were an hour long. And I used to be able to stay up in bed and listen to this for as long as I could stay awake, provided it wasn't a school night. And I got to love some of these shows. And Mom and Dad sometimes would tape them so I could listen to them the next day, just in case I did fall asleep. My other brothers, 2 brothers, didn't really get into this that much, but I really loved it. And until recently, about 2 years ago, another local station, an FM station, on Sunday nights from 10 to midnight, used to play them as well, but they had a format change and it just wasn't all that popular, so they scrapped that idea. But I still love these things, and I have a few on album myself that I collected when I was a lot younger. They're really hard to find nowadays. Usually the dollar bin is a good place to find these things, or you might go into a record store and they might have a soundtrack or a comedy or a radio section. If you like these sort of shows, it's worthwhile digging it out. There's also, excuse me, a couple of great websites for listening to these things too, if you're into this sort of thing. Not everybody is. I realize I probably have a rather limited audience here. But OTR.net, Old Time Radio Network, is a fantastic site to listen to some of these old things, even if you just want to try it. Like classic shows, I mean, Johnny Dollar, and click that off, and just everything. The Shadow, The Whistler, Orson Welles, you know, when War of the Worlds is on there. Just fantastic stuff. So I'm going to briefly show what I've got. And I don't know if Don's interested or not. I'll let him know I did a video about this. So I'm just going to start. And this first 2 are a British comedy show. Comedian who committed suicide back in the late 60s, I believe he did. Yeah, he committed suicide in 68 in Australia. A lot of issues he had. But Tony Hancock. And he did a show called Hancock's Half Hour on the BBC. And he was well-liked, well-loved. Fantastically funny man. He just didn't see it that way. He was always constantly plagued by self-doubt. But he had this cast of characters with him, and in this show, Hancock's Half Hour, just hilarious stuff. If you ever get a chance and you're just slightly interested, just go on that site, otr.net, and look up Hancock's Half Hour. Fantastically hilarious stuff. And this is the Golden Hour of Hancock, which features 3 shows, and The Wild Man of the Woods, a Sunday afternoon, which is one of his best shows ever. If you get a chance, just listen to a Sunday afternoon at home. These bored guys sitting around with nothing to do. It's just hilarious. So I've got that one, and this one again. The blood donor, or the radio hand. The blood donor was actually filmed on video as well. You can look up YouTube, that's got it on there. But it's just priceless stuff. And this is another one. This is a Lux Radio Theater, I believe it is, of African Queen with Humphrey Bogart and Greer Garson. Even though the movie was Katharine Hepburn, it was filmed after this came out. And also Orson Welles. I got a couple of Orson Welles. The Count of Monte Cristo. Excellent story. If you've never heard it on radio play, you should give it a try. Where's my other Orson Welles? Oh yeah, here we have The Shadow. And this has the stories, The Message from the Hill and Murder in Wax. Really cool stuff. Most people have heard of The Shadow. Was it Alec Baldwin, I think it was, they did a movie of this back in the 80s, or it might have been the 90s. Really bad movie, but it gives you an idea of what the character is about. And another Bogart one, Treasure of the Sierra Madre, with all the original cast, and it's really cool. If you shortened version of the movie takes an hour, roughly this. And then there was one of my favorite radio shows was called Suspense, and that had just you never knew what was going to happen. A lot of horror stories, a lot of crime drama. If you go to that station, you can also hear Jack Webb in Dragnet, all the episodes on there. And this is James Cagney with No Escape, and the 39 Steps on the B-side with Herbert Marshall. Classic radio play. It's been done on a movie a couple of times as well. That's my favorite version of it. Just classic stuff. And then there's a couple with Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi, Arsenic and Old Lace. Just great story. Another Bogart one, The Enforcer. This was also a classic movie of his from the 50s. And it's about a crime drama. And it's really just the voices of the movie just shortened down to a condensed hour-long version, more or less. A great movie. If you get a chance, check that out. Bogart at one of his best performances, and it had Zero Mostel in it, and just excellent stuff. Again, not for everybody's taste, but I love this stuff. And then more British comedians. I don't know if anybody's heard of The Goon Show. This had Peter Sellers, Harry Seacombe, Spike Mulligan. Really zany stuff. These guys are just absolutely insane. And this is The Goon Show, and there's another one. And I remember being younger, when we go shopping, grocery shopping, whatever, and Mum would go in, and Dad and I would sit out in the car and listen to these things, and I didn't understand it one bit. It just made no sense to me, but some of the things were funny. And later on, as I got into more radio stuff, I took another second listen to these guys. And it's just a scream. It's absolutely insane, these guys. It's sort of like a radio version of Monty Python. Just makes no sense. It's absolutely zany stuff, but just hilarious. And then this last one I found a few weeks ago at one of my favorite stores, Apollo Music. And this is Themes Like Old Times. And this has got about 200 on here. Because all these themes of the radio shows only last a few seconds, or 30 seconds, a minute long maybe sometimes. But this is a lot of the intros and themes from a lot of the radio shows. Mysterious Traveler, House of Mystery, X-1, Suspense, The Shadow, what's the other one? The Whistler. Just really cool stuff. I mean, if you're into this sort of thing, that's a fun little album to find. Again, not to everyone's taste. Not everybody will like this sort of stuff, but yeah, I'm going to let Don at That Old Goat's Vinyl know that I did this. He might be interested in seeing it since he has a few of these himself. That's it for this one. Like I said, a real short one. This will go under 10 minutes. I hope this piques somebody's interest, and we'll talk to you later.